So now the preseason hype for Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore is at an all-time high. I feel like any time that we discuss the Buffalo Bills wide receiver room, a lot of people are very optimistic for both of these players. You have Elijah Moore, who is technically our vertical threat speed guy that can create vertical separation, really stretch the field. And then Josh Palmer, who is supposed to be our route runner, who was just criminally underutilized with his time during his time with the LA Chargers. So on today's episode, I kind of wanted to curb expectations and investigate, should we be as high on these players as we are? I will go out and say that I am very optimistic that both of these players will be able to fit their mold. And even if I am wrong, at the very worst, this Buffalo Bills team would be in the exact same situation as they were in 2024 and this wide receiver room, whether or not that they were carried by Josh Allen or other facets of the Bills offense, assisted in allowing the Buffalo Bills to go 12 games with 30 plus points or more. Second team all time in NFL history, which is something to be excited about. But I would very much like to look at the film of both Josh Palmer from last year and same thing with Elijah Moore and pick out some reasons to be optimistic. Say that you look at either of their stats throughout their career. So, for example, going ahead and I'll pull up Josh Palmer's statistics in his entire career. And many are going to look at it and not feel as optimistic, especially those of you that like to watch a bit of box scores or be box score watchers. Oh, yeah, man, I'm looking at Josh Palmer. I'm seeing 584 yards, 581 yards. That's basically Keon Coleman's production last year. Why should we be as hyped? I can tell you that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover because this guy absolutely has it. He wins by timing, footwork, and his separation is absolutely crazy, folks. I'm going to demonstrate this on a couple of clips that I was able to pull from NFL Pro. And one thing that separates him from a lot of wide receivers. Number one, he's still young. He's 25, he's 26 years old. But something that really stands out to me is that he is averaging 2.8 yards of separation, even as he runs predominantly the most of his routes out on the outside, which is all but impossible. So, / rarely heard of, excuse me. But I just love what I see from this guy, man. I really do. Maybe you've heard me say time and time again that Josh Palmer is exactly, of course, what Amari Cooper should have been for the Buffalo Bills last year. However, this is probably one of my favorite routes from him, although it didn't turn out to be a sort of completion, an overthrow here from Justin Herbert. However, this is one of the times where he was in the inside, right out of the slot position right here. Have Kansas City running a high cover 2. And just look at what he does to our good safety over here from the Kansas City Chiefs. Completely embarrasses this guy. He's trying to take away the outside, and Josh Palmer was just like, I'm going to absolutely take your ankles on this rep, and completely confuses him, finds open space like anybody we have ever seen. I love this. He's not the fastest, right? I'm pretty sure he runs a 4.5, 4.6. But let's just go ahead and watch this again. Safety picks him up, gets absolutely embarrassed. Now, I'm not sure whether or not that he tricked him with his eyes, he tricked him with his overall footwork, but it's something that we should all be very excited about. I know a lot of us were really looking at, hey, you know what? Like, we need a man beater. And I've been trying my best to find as many different reps from Josh Palmer where he was actually going man. Couldn't find quite a few. However, him still finding this open space is imperative. Here he is, right on the line of scrimmage, goes up and just runs a little in route, right? Like nothing too crazy. But over and over again, you see his footwork on full display. I'm going to go ahead and check this one out real fast. So have a nice little 11-yard gain from Josh Palmer. He's going to be on the outside, some off coverage, and has inside leverage right over here. That was just a screen, so I'm not really going to be looking at this one specifically. But this one I like. Let's do this one. Let's do this one right here. Josh Palmer. Right in a bunch set right over here. Look at that. Solid out route, finds open space like no tomorrow. Now, as far as Josh Palmer, guys, I honestly think he's going to have the best season of his career. Like, we have already taken a look at what his statistics are throughout his time in LA. And it's not something that stands out particularly. Like, we see 584 yards, we see 581 yards in 24-23. And in 2022, he had his best season where his targets went up significantly at around 72. And 769 yards, 10.7 on average, and 3 touchdowns. You would assume that he's probably going to be around this number, 72 receptions, because we're going to need to implement him almost immediately. Maybe around 50 to 60 receptions, maybe off of about 100 targets. This 2022 season was likely when Keenan Allen was out for quite a bit of time, and then also Mike Williams ended up tearing his ACL, and he was unavailable for the most part. So I'm very, very optimistic in what we can see, of course, from Josh Palmer. Now, I think all of us need to have a conversation about our vertical threat, Elijah Moore. And again, guys, like, both of these players haven't necessarily showed up on the stat sheet. However, many people are optimistic. And why people are optimistic, of course, about Elijah Moore has to do with the fact that he has had nothing but ineptitude offenses and terrible quarterback play. Last year, with the Browns' carousel of a QB, 61 receptions for 538 yards and only 1 touchdown. The Browns following year, or the year before in 2023, 640 yards. And in 2021, where he was actually implemented, 5 touchdowns his rookie season, 538. Most targets he's ever received was in 2024, and that was from a carousel of different quarterbacks that we could take a look. Now, I'm kind of interested to take a look at what kind of vertical separation we can find from Elijah Moore. And based off of having over 3 yards of separation, which I ended up filtering on this NFL Pro film, and based off of deep targets, this is what I have been able to find. Now, Cleveland had a bunch of very interesting offensive formations. They loved running bunch right over here. And for anybody that's curious, this is typically what that means when you are running a bunch set off to either the left and or the right. And you would see quite a bit of that with Stefanski. And by the way, I have to give a giant shout out to Stefanski because that man has just been plagued with shit personnel. His offensive scheme is brilliant. He's probably one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, but unfortunately his front office was just completely inept and did not understand exactly what he needed to do. So I'm going to go ahead and show this real fast. Solid little bunch set again. Sorry, I just realized I wasn't showing the film right here. But in case anybody is interested, if you ever see wide receivers lined up like this, this is typically a bunch set. We've seen quite a bit of this from Joe Brady. Highly effective, because what you're trying to do is create traffic right here, confuse the defense, and making sure that you can at least get one wide receiver open. And you're going to see how great this separation is here from Elijah Moore. Although it was incomplete from Jameis Winston, I still need to give credit where credit is due. Finds open space. And maybe if Jameis were to go on ahead and actually deliver a tad better, we may have been in a better situation. Let's go on ahead and check out some Deshaun Watson plays. And I got to tell you what, there have been a lot of reps that we saw where Deshaun just looked like absolute shit. Quality front seven here. Damn. It's basically prevent defense here, but let's see what Elijah Moore is able to do. It's probably going to be a completion underneath. That's a little mesh route. And that's a little mesh right over there, or a crosser, excuse me. So not something that's really standing out for me. You have Dorian Thompson-Robinson short. Cleveland 34 for 4 yards. I'm looking for something big here. Deep left to Elijah Moore, Baltimore 48 for 19. Let's check this out. Let's find some quality vertical reps for this guy. So there's our guy Elijah. Solid motion right there. It's zone coverage. He's getting picked up. Absolutely cooked him. Absolutely took his ankles. Let's try that again. And this is how I would like to utilize him. Like, this is how I think, like, you would have liked. Oh, yeah. Route running is not even terrible, man. I absolutely love it. So, as far as Elijah Moore, like, going back to his overall statistics, if I had to guess where this gentleman is going to be by the time that the 2025 season is over with, I'm going to assume his targets or receptions are probably going to be around the 38, 48 range as far as receptions. And I'm fine if his numbers are around 446, as long as his average is up, right? Because as far as average depth of target, last year, the leader on the Buffalo Bills was Keon Coleman. And I don't feel like Keon Coleman should be the guy that leads the team in average depth of target. Like, you need the vertical threat. Like, you need the speedster to lead in that category. Like, we were basically asking Keon Coleman to be somebody that I believe he should not be. And I think that, of course, Moore can fit that mold. So do I think that Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore are going to completely elevate this wide receiver room where we are going to see both of them crack 800 plus yards, crazy production, especially in scoring? Not necessarily, but I do think that it adds an interesting dynamic to this team. And I do think that this wide receiver room is slightly improved from last year. And I think that's really all that we could ask for. So I'm very curious to see what the chat has to say about all of this. As many of you guys know, this is the time of my stream where I ultimately end up going to my live chat audience in a Q&A segment to see exactly what they have to say about the topic. Guys, if you are say that you are joining me today, please do me a favor and smash that like button. My goal is over 100 live viewers. This is right now the dead season of the NFL. So anybody tuning in is obviously a football fanatic, a Buffalo Bills aficionado. In order for us to reach that goal of getting over 100 people watching this live stream, I'm going to need everybody in here to hit that like button for me. It's the easiest way to support the channel. Subscribe and turn on bell notifications. Let's move over to the Q&A segment. As a reminder, guys, in order for me to make sure that we have a productive and a clean Q&A segment, please label all of them appropriately with either a Q and or an S to decipher between question and statement, so I can give an awesome experience to anybody tuning into the replay of this live stream, and also the audio version that could be found on Spotify. I do need to give a giant shout out to today's proud partner, and that just so happens to be William Matar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, you better call William Matar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish a car accident on anybody, but if it does happen, it is the cruel reality of this world. It's imperative to find a perfect attorney to take the case. And look no further than our good friend Will. Shout out to William Matar. Phone number is on the screen. Let's make it happen. Guys, again, smash that like button coming on in. We want 100 live viewers in this Q&A segment. Let's lock in. Let's go ahead and lock in real fast and have this conversation. Let's talk to the squad. What is going on? We have Bishop has come in. Damn right, I'm a Bills fanatic. Go Bills. Love the show. Let's go. Bishop, thank you so much, man. I hope you were enjoying your Thursday morning. I'm so glad that you decided to join me this morning. Shout out my boy Scott Blakely. He's been a day one. Scott has been a day one for me. He has been watching me, I think, ever since I started. He can definitely tell you how much I have grown as far as my personality, how I ultimately end up structuring my shows in regular times. But Scott, my teeth are solid, man. Solid. You know what? Like yesterday, I did feel a little soreness on the root canal tooth. But this morning, I'm feeling pretty damn good. So far, I do think it is a success. And I get a crown, I think on July some some sometime in July, and then mid-July I get my other wisdom teeth out. So, toward the back half of the season. Talk to me. No bones about it has come in. Keon, Kincaid, and Shakir will be the top 3 dogs in this pass game. The other guys are just supportive role players. RECE6. Man, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, man. It's very tough to predict and the final 2025 stat line for all of our wide receivers because we know that Joe Brady loves to spread the ball around. I think a good bet would be that Khalil Shakir is going to be that guy. I really believe that. So let's lock in. Let's lock in here. Dan, I know you are still getting over Mac Hollins being gone, but which of these 2 guys is his direct replacement? So I think that's actually sarcasm from my boy Eric because he knows that I'm like one of the few that could take or leave Mac Hollins coming back to this roster. I really don't think that Mac Hollins was that much of a factor for Buffalo. Like, I hate to be a box score watcher, and I loved what he did for, of course, the locker room. And yes, I thought his outfits pregame were entertaining. But, I mean, guys, like, what was it? Like 360 yards? Yeah, he got a couple of touchdowns right in the red zone. But I got to tell you, I really don't think that his production is going to be very difficult to replace. And to be completely honest with you, I'm going to have to assume that Curtis Samuel is going to replace his production. Like, mimic exactly what we saw from Mac Hollins last year. His separation is still there. Let's just see. Josh Palmer needs to stay healthy. I 110% agree with you, my friend. Caden Prather in a 4.32 at the combine. Hard stretch. He sees playing time to stretch the field. I would be shocked if Caden Prather made this team. Visibly shocked if Caden Prather made this team. As far as a wide receiver room, I think I'm going to bet quite a bit of hypothetical funds that the 6 guys are going to be Shakir, Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Palmer, and then Elijah Moore. And the 6th guy is going to be Laviska Shenault, particularly for his return game prowess. DF is coming. Sorry, I have not been around to due to health. Question, first off, DF and Dwayne, and shout out to all my mods in here, always keeping the peace. I could not do this without you. Do you think people are under-evaluating what wide receivers we have? For sure. So I'm not sure if and so you all saw the AFC East roundtable last night where we were doing position rankings. We broke down the wide receivers, and we are going to be uploading a clip of that on the AFC East roundtable later today in case that you're not interested in watching the full stream replay. But of course, man, like it's not talent. And so I would agree that we do have wide receivers that I would probably title or categorize as the island of misfit toys, but they all bring something unique to the table. And it helps that we have an MVP quarterback and a QB that absolutely elevates everybody around him. I'm not entirely sure that, and so the vast majority of these wide receivers would be successful unless it was Josh Allen throwing them the football. And I do think that we all will see the decline of Mac Hollins next year when Josh Allen is not throwing him the football. And say, for example, Curtis went somewhere. I don't think that he would be the same, although that he had a disappointing season in 2024. I will give you that. And I do think that Keon Coleman, that he only has a prayer to succeed in this league with Josh Allen throwing him the football. So it's not a bad thing. And I can't tell you how many times or how many teams have put together a quote unquote elite wide receiving room and have been anything of a threat, like whatsoever. Like people that have been over obsessive being like, oh my God, man, I would kill for a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins type wide receiver room. How we have been able to get over with, so I'd say an average wide receiver room to, dare I even say, below average, is we save enough money to where we are able to be one of the most well-rounded teams across the league. I'm so glad that we don't have the vast majority of our cap space tied into playmakers, so we can also end up addressing other positions of need, specifically on the defense. But that's just me. I am at work, give dialysis to patients, and watching Bills football. Bishop, hey, man, listen, shout out to everybody in the medical field, folks. Y'all are real heroes, and I do appreciate that. Yes, I am mad at my dentist for the pain that he has put me through for the past couple of weeks, but shout out to all the medical professionals out there doing God's work, man. I appreciate that. Go Bills. Jay has come in, and he has been asking, hypothetical situation. Say if the Steelers don't extend TJ Watt and he still plays for them in 2025 and the Steelers are having a bad season, can you hopefully see a world where the Buffalo Bills go out and get him or trade for him? No, I don't, because he would be wildly expensive. And I think that Brandon Beane was very uncomfortable by the cap situation that he was almost forced into creating when we had to walk away from Stephon Diggs too early. So I think he's going to be a couple of years out from making any sort of big swing in free agency and or the trade market or bringing on any sort of significant contract, if you will. I believe that Pittsburgh is going to figure it out with TJ Watt. I really, really do. It'll probably get done prior to training camp because, like, look at what he means to the Steelers defense. When that man is not out there, their metrics all across the board plummet. Like, he is literally the engine that runs the Pittsburgh Steelers D. So I'm pretty sure that our guy over here is going, of course, to get paid. Sirens08 has come in. Dan, was it hard for you to not keep a smile while watching Super Bowl 59? Dan, was it hard for you not to keep a smile while watching Super Bowl 59? You already know it, Sirens QB. You know it, my friend. Always difficult. I appreciate that donation. Shout out to Sirens08, $5 donation, supporting the show. I appreciate that. Guys, listen, that's a great way of supporting. Also, consider joining the membership program here, folks. I will prioritize comments from anybody that is a member on this channel. I do my best to get to everybody, but if you are a member of this channel, have no fear. Your comment will always be read. And also keep in mind, you can gift memberships to anybody that wants to get on in on the action. So shout out to the membership program, folks. Hit that join button and you can have benefits of me shouting you out as you come in as a new member. And also just making sure that you have the priority in the comments section, no matter what. I do think we have 3 wide receivers with 1,000 yards. Interesting, Nick 716. I think Palmer and Moore get around 750 to 880. My prediction, Moore receives a 40-year deal from Beane next offseason. I would not complain at all because that would mean that he would go absolutely nuclear all across the board. I don't think anybody would be upset with that. Guys, reminder, smash that like button. Goal is to have over 100 people watching during the dead season. Man, only people that are absolutely obsessed with football are in this live chat right now. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, like I get 300 live, like right during the regular season. Of course I do, ladies and gents. But during the dead season, that's when I know the fanatics are in here. We have George. LaVisca was comped as a Metcalf comp, but he had a subpar quarterback play in Jacksonville. Look, I was very high on LaVisca Chenault going into his draft season. But unfortunately, right, he never really lived up to the hype. He is a quality special teamer. And due to reports, it sounds like he actually has a really good shot at making this team. I think he's going to make this team. Question, with the additions of Dorian Strong and Hancock, I want to say that our secondary depth may be the best it has ever been. Zach Titus, I would have to agree with you, my friend. Now I actually feel comfortable that if Taron Johnson has to miss a couple of games due to injury, and of course I'm not wishing that on anybody, and I'm definitely not wishing that because he is an incredible slot corner. I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable with Hancock stepping in rather than, of course, Cam Lewis. I think Dorian Strong is going to be interesting. I do think that it's going to be between Dorian Strong and Dane Jackson on who makes this team. And based off of how much Sean McDermott loves Dane Jackson, I think Dorian Strong is going to have to significantly outperform him in camp. It's not going to be close. Like, say that it's a close competition, I still think that Dane Jackson will get the edge based off of McDermott's loyalty to the player and his familiarity within the system. But the only way that Dorian Strong, in my opinion, makes this roster as a corner is that he needs to absolutely lights out be better than Dane Jackson. That's me. DF forever. Moore is super fast. I think people are doubting Moore more than Palmer. He is super fast, man. We're going to see. Walter S. Why do we want to get by at wide receiver? I just don't understand this philosophy for a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl, because teams like the Chiefs and Pats, outlier dynasties, won following that method. So I would say the Kansas City Chiefs haven't won Super Bowls recently with that method of wide receiver. I think the Chiefs' last 2 Super Bowl championships post Tyreek Hill have largely been their suffocating defense. And here's my thing on wide receiver. It's tough for me. And so to accept the argument that somebody looks at this Buffalo Bills team for the past 2 years and they say, oh my God, it's wide receiver. That's why we haven't been winning. But then I always like pointing out to last year when we lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, sure, and did some of our wide receivers not end up like rising up to the occasion on a couple of different plays? Absolutely. But one thing that stands out to me is last year during the AFC Championship, this defense allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to score 30 points. And they maybe scored 30 points 2 other times in 2024 and in the playoffs in general. Like, that's borderline embarrassing. It really, really is. And we saw how terrible our depth was from the cornerback perspective. Once Benford went down, like, we were screwed. It didn't matter if Ingram was going to go out there and replace Benford or whether or not that it was Kyer. Depth at the cornerback position was absolutely atrocious. And looking back at the past 2 departures that Kansas City handed to us, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at our overall defense. And so I'm saying it's because that our depth has such a significant drop off in talent that we just absolutely get cooked. Like, look, this Buffalo Bills team is currently, okay, second all time for most games scoring 30 plus points in a regular season. We scored 30 plus points 12 games last year. That's second all time in NFL history. So it's hard for me to look at this team and say, hey, why we can't get over the hump is because of our offense. No, it's definitely that. So I'm glad that this year we focused on defense. And I think that the front office has suggested that that was their biggest priority, was focusing on depth, focusing on pass rush. And that should be it. Because say, for example, we went out and like bought a wide receiver, right? Like we got one in free agency or made like a crazy trade. Like that's funds that would have been taken away for us to like really focus on defense in the draft and focus on some of these key depth pieces that are coming in. So that's me. Dan, even if you are not a member, you do a great job hitting everyone in the comments. Thank you so much. Hey, listen, I do my best to get to everybody. Dan, got your catering set up yet and pricing for AFC East party in Buffalo? Also, please check Discord when you have time today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will check it out. Soon. I am waiting on something from the company that we are collaborating with. I am going to be sending out that information here, hopefully next week. And so the guy I'm working with is just a very busy man, and he has not been able to get back to me. Dan, I like your show, and go Buffalo. Ken, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. We have Jay. Remember when Josh Allen was voted by an anonymous NFL player the most overrated player in the league? Now, obviously, he proved those haters wrong. Who do you think is going to be voted the most overrated? I'm not even sure that that's something that is a regular occurrence. Who's going to be the most overrated? Oh, man. I feel like this might be a very hot take. Let me think on it. Yeah, let me think on it. We have Sam from Facebook. And do you think we are going to get a deal done with James Cook? I would be shocked, especially since he's already said that he's planning on playing this year. He's showing up to training camp. I really don't think that he's going to be there. We have over-under on Josh Allen rushing for 500 yards. I think it's going to be under, slightly under, about 480 rush yards, I would have to guess this year. Nick 716, what positions do you think is the hardest to predict terms of stats and production? What positions? So for the Buffalo Bills, I would say wide receiver. And for the Buffalo Bills, I would say wide receiver. I still think it's crazy that we are favored in every single game this year. If we are ever going to go 20-0, it would be the year. I don't know about that. We have Zach Titus has come in. If folks think our offense was the problem last season, you just don't know how to watch football. Damn. Hot takes in the chat, man. I absolutely love it. I also think it's crazy that with us being favored in all of our games this year, that we are still rated third, fourth in the league. Kansas City and Baltimore and even the Eagles aren't favored in all of their games. I mean, I don't know. It's time for us to go out there and prove each and every single one of them wrong. The most overrated player in the NFL right now is Joe Burrow. Throw up all the stats you want. Still doesn't win you games. Zach Titus is coming. All right, folks, that's going to have to do it for another edition of the Don Mafia Report. I appreciate all of you making this a part of your weekly, daily routine in the morning. I am live every single morning at 10 a.m. EST, breaking down all of the topics surrounding your favorite NFL team. And again, guys, right now, we are currently in the dead season of the NFL, right? It's vacation time. All I'm doing is pulling out a bunch of random topics out of my ass to make sure that I can keep you guys entertained. I'm not sure about you, but I cannot wait for training camp where we actually have things to talk about. And even more importantly, I'm excited for once the regular season begins. Do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so already. And before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go, Buffa.